Do you need a shaykh to tread the Sufi path? Or do books suffice? This question has stirred debates among scholars and mystics for centuries. Imagine the tension in 15th century Andalusia, where this very question ignited fierce intellectual battles. Today, we dive into this captivating controversy through the eyes of the great historian and jurist Ibn Khaldun. In his famous works, Muqaddimah and Shifa al-Sa'il, Ibn Khaldun doesn't just recount history. He challenges us to think deeply about spiritual authority and self-guided learning. Stay with us as we unravel Ibn Khaldun's insights and explore the rich tapestry of Sufi wisdom. So, remove the dust, and let's embark on this enlightening journey together. In 15th century Andalusia, a fierce debate erupted among scholars and mystics. Is a spiritual guide, or shaykh, necessary for the Sufi path, or can one rely solely on books? This debate wasn't just academic. It went to the heart of spiritual practice and authority in the Muslim world. Scholars like Ibn Khaldun found themselves at the center of this controversy, contributing significantly through their writings and fatwas. Andalusia, with its rich intellectual and cultural heritage, became the battleground for this profound spiritual question. The role of a shaykh in Sufism is considered crucial by many scholars for effective spiritual guidance. Proponents argue that a shaykh provides personalized instruction and mentorship that books alone cannot offer. The presence of a knowledgeable and experienced guide helps the seeker navigate the complexities of the spiritual path, ensuring adherence to true teachings and protecting against misinterpretation. Having a shaykh ensures that the seeker remains grounded in the traditions of the Quran and Sunnah, while progressing through the mystical practices of Sufism. The shaykh's role is to provide a living example of spiritual discipline and to offer direct, experiential knowledge that complements the theoretical knowledge found in books. While the role of a shaykh is often emphasized, there is a counter-argument that books on Sufism can suffice for spiritual growth. Advocates of this view argue that sacred texts and writings of esteemed Sufi masters contain comprehensive guidance for seekers. These books offer valuable insights into the principles and practices of Sufism, making spiritual knowledge accessible to those who may not have direct access to a shaykh. Prominent scholars like Ibn Arabi and Al-Khabbab have articulated the value of books in spiritual practice. Ibn Arabi, in his extensive writings, acknowledges the difficulty in finding a genuine shaykh al-ta'lim in his time and suggests that seekers should rely on Allah while continuing their practice. He emphasizes that while books cannot entirely replace a shaykh, they are invaluable resources for those who lack access to personal guidance. Al-Khabbab, another significant figure, argues that many forms of knowledge, including Sufism, require a living guide for complete mastery. However, he concedes that books can be beneficial, especially when a shaykh is not available. He notes that books by respected Sufi masters, if consistent with the Sharia, can provide substantial guidance in understanding mystical states, ahwal, and stations, maqamat. Ibn Khaldun recognized the importance of books in spiritual practice, but maintained a balanced perspective. He acknowledged that books are beneficial, especially in the initial stages of the spiritual journey, where they provide essential knowledge and guidance. However, he cautioned that books alone might not be sufficient for deeper spiritual realization. According to Ibn Khaldun, while books can aid in mujahadat al-taqwa, the struggle for piety and righteousness, and mujahadat al-istiqamah, the struggle for steadfastness and moral integrity, the first two stages of spiritual struggle, the third stage, mujahadat al-kashf, the struggle for spiritual unveiling and direct knowledge of God, requires the direct guidance of a shaykh. He believed that books, although valuable, could not replace the personalized mentorship and experiential knowledge imparted by a shaykh. This is particularly crucial in avoiding misinterpretation and ensuring that the seeker remains aligned with the core teachings of Islam. Ibn Khaldun was notably critical of certain mystical teachings, particularly those of Ibn Arabi, a prominent Sufi philosopher known for his doctrine of wahdat al-wujud, the unity of being. Ibn Arabi's teachings emphasize the idea that all of existence is a manifestation of God's essence, blurring the lines between the creator and the creation. This concept, while profoundly mystical, raised concerns among more orthodox scholars. Ibn Khaldun's critique of Ibn Arabi's teachings is deeply rooted in his fear of misguidance and deviation from the foundational principles of Islam. He argued that the doctrine of Wahdat al-Wujud could lead to pantheism, which contradicts the strict monotheism of Islam. Moreover, Ibn Arabi's notion of the perfect man, al-Insan al-Kamil, who embodies divine attributes, was seen as potentially elevating humans to a divine status, undermining the core Islamic belief in the oneness and transcendence of God. Ibn Khaldun went so far as to issue fatwas calling for the destruction of books by Ibn Arabi and other similar works. He viewed these texts as dangerous, capable of leading individuals away from the straight path of the Quran and Sunnah. Quote,
"These books and those like them are to be physically destroyed whenever copies are found by consigning them to the flames or washing away the ink of their texts so that no trace of the writing remains visible. This is to safeguard the general welfare of the religion. It is incumbent on the ruler to burn these books in order to safeguard the general welfare."
In this sense, Ibn Khaldun's approach has been compared to that of Machiavelli in his pragmatic and sometimes ruthless efforts to safeguard the integrity of the state and society. Both thinkers were concerned with the potential chaos and disorder that could arise from ideas they saw as rebellious. However, Ibn Khaldun's approach was not without controversy. His harsh criticism of Ibn Arabi and his attempts to have Ibn Arabi's books destroyed reveal a rigid stance that prioritized societal order and orthodoxy over mystical exploration. By advocating for the destruction of certain Sufi texts, Ibn Khaldun took a drastic step that many argue stifles intellectual and spiritual freedom. This debate is not just a historical curiosity, it remains highly relevant today. In modern times, the relationship between state authorities and spiritual movements often mirrors this tension. States, prioritizing their interests, sometimes suppress alternative voices they view as rival authorities, leading to increased authoritarianism. So, how should we navigate this complex relationship between spiritual guidance and state control? How do we balance the need for spiritual exploration with the demands for societal order? Reflect on these questions as you consider the balance between personal study and guided instruction in your own spiritual journey.